right, here I am with my next guest. I'm very excited to meet. It is Jxckson. Hello, Jxckson.
Hey, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here, and congratulations on your first EP coming out in the world very recently. So, how's it been?
Yes,
How's it been
it's
having it
it's
out?
been a it's been amazing. It's a little surreal. I have to keep reminding myself that it's out because I was waiting so long. That when people message me or there's like a certain song that someone likes, and they want to talk about it, I'm like, oh, that's right, it's out. You know it as well. It's not just some secret I've been hiding. So it's been like really great feedback. So for that first CD, you just never know what to expect. So it's been overwhelmingly joyful, I think is the
Uh,
word I'll go
over
with.
Overwhelmingly joyful. That's a good quote.
I'll take that.
Yeah, take that one. That's good. So, how long have you been sitting on the songs before it was released? Then has it been have they been around for a while, or were they quite new ones?
Yeah, it's so interesting. So when I first, um, I wasn't planning to make an EP at first, and it just kind of naturally happened. So in the start of the quarantine last year, I wrote Mango, Ready for Love, and a little more. I wrote them at the same time and recorded them almost a year ago. I think next week will be exactly a year since
Oh
I
wow.
recorded those three. And then Mango, when I released it in August, had a good reception. So I was like, oh, I'm going to keep going and maybe I'll just make an EP. I'll try it. And then I ended up writing, shortly after Mango, I wrote Elevator Pitch and That Summer and Curiosity. And I recorded those back in November. And I've been sitting on the whole EP since December. And then I added the two poem interludes and I recorded those back in March. So different time periods for the whole thing. So I've
Yeah,
been sitting on a lot of music since I guess the latest since I sat on Curiosity for about 6 months. So
yeah.
before it became out. So yeah,
So funny that yeah, the having those songs like I know it's like myself having them. You've recorded them ages ago, and you're just like when they're ready, you're like, oh, I just want everybody to hear it. But it's like, oh no, it's going to be another 3 months or whatever before someone can listen to them.
exactly.
So strange.
Yeah, especially when you feel like you're like I feel like my sound is evolving really quickly. So
Mm.
when something's out, I'm like, oh, but I just recorded this really great song last week. That sounds completely different. So yeah, it's really fascinating from the artist perspective of sitting on music.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. But no, it's great. Yeah, congratulations. And
thank
yeah,
you.
that surprised me actually that this was your first EP. I thought like obviously I've heard all those tracks that you mentioned in the last kind of year, and I don't know. I just assumed that you'd been releasing stuff before then, before that
Yeah.
point. But so how long have you been making music then? Is that quite a relatively new thing also, or has that been
No,
around for a while?
uh, it's been a long time. So I've had like old mixtapes on my SoundCloud. There's some old songs, but it was just more as like a hobby. And I just dabbled in songwriting. I think for the last 13 years. On my Patreon, I like sharing old demos too, and a lot of them are cringeworthy. But you learn over time,
Yeah, indeed.
and that's what I've done. And Icarus was my first song where I was like, okay, I'm going to seriously focus on writing music and presenting myself as an artist and putting that attention it needs. So Icarus was kind of that debut single for me. That was a
Yeah.
little different from the stuff that was like demos or mixtapes. So, but I've been writing music for 13, 14 years.
Hmm.
I think I just hit my stride in the last 2 years. But I've been singing and dancing since I was like, I think in a few other interviews I've been saying since I was two. Since I could talk and walk, I've been singing and dancing. So it's just been kind of always something I did growing up, and my family is like, "This is nothing new."
So, is your family singing and dancing as well, or was that just something that you
No,
did?
it was just something I did. So my parents just found it so fascinating. Like I think they said I was maybe about one, and I was like they were driving somewhere, and I was just singing along to the radio. Couldn't even really talk. I was just like oohing and awing along. And was actually singing the actual song, and they're like, "Oh, okay,
Mm.
we have a singer here.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, I would mimic music videos and try to replicate the dances at a young age too. So they're like, all right, we have a little entertainer on our hands.
There you go. And roll on a few years, and there you're making your own music videos and music. So,
Exactly. Yes.
can you remember like what you loved about music when you were that age? Like, do you have any musical memories as a kid?
Yeah, it's funny, like when I think back, I'm really good at associating memories with songs. So when I hear
Yeah.
songs, I'm really good at like saying like, oh, that song came out in like 2015 or 2000, or like 2005 or 2006, because I have like a memory associated with them. Like, oh yeah, I was in this grade, this just happened. So music has always been something that I anchor my life around and my memories around. So it's always played a key part. So it's hard to like know like my first memory of it. One of my first memories, I remember my mom taking me to like her aerobics class that was in this dance studio, and I had to be younger than 2. And I remember being so fascinated to be in this room that was just like this whole wall of mirrors, and I'm just like looking at the mirrors and dancing. I was like, what is this place? And to this day, I still love being in a dance studio. There's just nothing like it.
Yeah, they're really cool spaces, aren't they? Something
Yeah,
about as soon as you go into it, you just want to be like,
I'm
sorry,
like ready.
yeah, do some moves.
Do some eight counts.
Yeah, no, that's really fun. So, so where in the world are you? Where do we find you?
I am physically located in Austin, Texas, in the U.S. Virtually, you can find me on any platform. So if you want to
Yeah,
follow me,
that's
shameless plug.
yeah. That was a very smooth plug in there. Great. Yeah,
Thank
go on.
you, thank you.
You've done this before.
Maybe a few times. Getting better.
Yeah, go on. Where can we find you online?
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram are my two biggest platforms. I spend probably way too much time on both. If you want to have a casual chat, reach me on Twitter. I'm always on there. I will always respond.
Always hanging out. Yeah.
um, Always hanging out, and Instagram. I'm a very visual like thinker, so I like the visual aspects of Instagram. So if you want to catch me, those two places are the
That's
best.
that's the places to go. But speaking of your physical place, back to that for a moment. So
Yes.
what? So I have been to Austin, Texas once in my life.
Ah.
I loved it. When a much younger me went there, and I had family who were living in Houston,
Oh, nice.
and then I went to Austin by myself for one night, and
Oh.
had a fun night. Ended up in some jazz bar somewhere and stayed in a youth hostel, and I don't know, met some
Ah.
strangers who took me for brunch. Everyone was very nice to me. So
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
I was just kind of like a young 20-year-old who didn't really know what they were up to, and was being an idiot. But yeah, what's Austin like? A really musical city, like
Yes.
yeah,
Very, like, yeah, we have ACL, which is our ACL and South by Southwest, two huge
yeah.
music festivals that we have here. It's funny, I always avoid them because living here, it just, to me, that just means like, oh, it's going to be a bunch of traffic. I'm going to stay away. We got a lot of people coming here. But there's always like a great live show everywhere in the city. You can always find a show to go to.
Mm,
I recently went to a friend of mine. Her name is Gina Chavez. She did an outdoor show here in Austin. So it was my first time going back to a concert
yeah.
post pandemic, which was it was weird, um, but amazing. So um, I think my life before the pandemic, I was just constantly moving and busy. So it kind of caused me to slow down and think about what I want, and music was
Mm,
part of that. So I'm excited to go to more live shows post pandemic.
yeah.
So that's a lot of my to-do list. So I haven't lived the full Austin experience of like actually going to all these shows that the city has to offer. So
Yeah,
working on it though.
yeah, working. That's good. So is it fully reopened then yet in terms of live music, or is it kind of starting
It's
to?
there's a lot of outdoor venues that have opened. Texas is kind of the state at all the states that opened a little early. So there's a lot of headway to um, think about how concerts look like right now. So I believe all the ones I've been seeing have been outdoor. There might have been a few indoor ones, but
Yeah,
They're starting to pop up
that's
across
good.
the city.
That's cool. Yeah, definitely, definitely on my to-do list as well is to get out and see some live
Yes.
music. I went to a restaurant for the first week, the other week, and there was just like someone playing in the restaurant, and I was like, I was like, oh my god, it's like live music. I was
Live
like,
music.
it's just like it was like sort of magical sound. I was like heard someone playing live apart from myself in my
Yes,
room,
yeah.
you know.
Or virtual shows.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
exciting.
It's like it's
You're
fun.
like, it's like,
Just
it's
realized
like,
how
what's
much I
the
missed.
etiquette? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how
yeah,
I
yeah.
felt too.
No, it's really cool. So as so have you? You said you've kind of making more space for music in your life over this
Mhm.
last while. Do you are you doing music full time or do you have side gigs?
Side gigs, yeah. I have my day job,
Yeah.
as I like to say, where I work in a user experience as a writer. That's kind of my trade. So I've been doing that for since I graduated college, about 9 years. Oh my God, 9 years now. Time flies. That's kind of the day thing. And then now on the side, every time I have free time, I do like dance classes or dance groups. Or right now I'm working with the dance studio for concept videos. So that's something I'm working on. And then also my music on the other side. I think it's just because I've been always on the go, music was always like, oh, it's a fun hobby you can do on your own time. But
Right.
now I'm like, I don't want to just do it on my own time. I want it. So it's kind of shifting more into like
Mm.
my main thing. So we'll see. We'll see. I take it a lot more seriously in the last 2 years, which has been nice and a great shift to see. It's exciting.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's great. And yeah, I think it's probably similar for lots of people. I think in this last year, it's kind of just refocuses you. And I know it's for myself has been kind of the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's definitely you need you can give it as much time as you want. I think you never have enough time to kind of do all the things you actually want to do.
Yes, exactly.
But hey, we got reach for the whatever the goals that we have.
Yeah, whatever goals we could
Exactly,
take.
wherever will take us. So tell us then a little bit about this EP. So we're going to hear one of the tracks, so Curiosity. So you can tell us a little bit about that. I'm also like I was just reading a little bit about it from what you sent me as well. I was really cool to see that you worked with your sister
Yeah,
as well. So yeah, just love to hear a little bit about that and I guess the EP in general. But
yeah. So the EP is called Paradox, which I named it Paradox after I was trying to think of a name for it. Originally, it was called A Little More, but I had a song with the same name and I didn't want a title track, so I was like, I'll think of a different name. And then I was having a conversation, and I can't remember with who because I have horrible memory. Um, and I was just talking about how my sound and even my personality to an extent feels like a paradox because there's all these like conflicting parts of my music, my sound, like that don't feel like they make sense, but they do make sense when they're together. And that's how I felt with the CP. Like there's a little synth wave, there's a lot of dance hall, there's very chill tropical music, there's a lo-fi moment. And it's me playing around with different genres that are essentially still within the pop realm. And when you stop and think about it, these songs shouldn't make sense on the same album. But from start to finish, I feel like it does tell a story and it does fit together. So that's why I ended up with calling it Paradox. Um, and Curiosity was it's like one of my favorite songs on the project. I released it as a single last month because I just wanted it out before the project so it can have its own moment because I felt like it deserved that.
yeah,
Um, and
definitely.
it's a mix of the different sounds I like doing. So it has dancehall elements, it has very dark pop elements as well. I feel like it's a good merger of the two. So it's very dark, creepy, but you can move to it, and I like that weird mix. So I guess in a sense, it also carries that paradox idea. So it's a good representation, I think, of the project. Um, and Curiosity was also it was an update to an old mixtape track that I did 5 years ago. And I really liked that song. I just thought production wise and the sound wise wasn't there, but the idea of the song I really loved. And I liked a lot of the lyrics. So I modernized it with a lot of the my current style. And that's how I ended up with this new track. And I absolutely love it because taking something from the past that I've done and modernizing it to my current sound, and it makes me so happy to hear to this day. Um, and then the poems, it's funny, I actually completed the EP back in December. And when I listened to it, I was like, oh, this is great, but I feel like it was missing something. And my little sister's a poet. She's an amazing poet. Always been a fan of her writing since she was young, and keep encouraging her to keep pushing. And she's planning on writing a book
Oh,
with
great.
her poetry.
What's your sister's name?
Her name's Felicia,
Right.
and she's my younger sister, 2 years apart. So we've always been really close. And I was talking to her about the project and how I finished it back in December, but it was missing something, and how I had this idea of like including poems. And we were talking, I was like, oh, wait, you're a poet. Like, would you be interested in writing something? And she's like, oh, yeah, that sounds cool, to hear her poems like come to life in something. So I sent her the EP early, and I told her, I was like, write 2 poems that go. I told her where they will go in the track list. I told her, you have no perimeters. Like, you can write about whatever you want, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're inspired. I don't care how long, how short. I want you to use your own artistic view on this project and have your own voice. And she did. And she came back with 2 really amazing poems that I felt like perfectly fit between the 2 tracks that they're between. And it just feels like a more complete project. And now it makes the EP feel even more personal now to
Mm.
have that level of collaboration with a family member that I'm really close to. So
Yeah.
it's just been an amazing experience. And
Yeah,
now we
that's
get to share
amazing.
it together too.
Yeah,
So
totally. Yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, I guess like not many people would have that
yeah,
situation. They'd be able to kind of do something with a sibling
yeah,
or a family member or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that.
yeah, yeah. It was fun.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, great. Well, yeah, we're looking forward to playing this track as well. And I was going to say you've been on Glitterbeam Radio before. Am I right? You've been on with
You're
the
correct.
lovely Charlie Fisher. Got
I
in there before
have.
me.
I know. He swooped right in.
Yeah, but it's all right. We all love Charlie, so that's
Yes,
good.
yes.
But you've been, I guess, similar to me and Charlie and many other kind of artists. Like you've been connecting quite a bit with other artists over this last year in online
Yeah.
communities and also performing quite a few live
Hmm.
via the internet gigs and stuff like that. How has that been for you?
It's been exciting. I still really, I've done like a few live performances like at friends' houses, like just like a small party. So I haven't actually got to experience my first live show because I really started music a few months prior to the pandemic starting. So it's like poor timing. So now that things are opening up, I'm planning that. So, but in the meantime, doing virtual shows has been a great learning curve. My first one was okay, and I was like, okay, I'll learn from this. So I've done a few now. And it's interesting to think about a performance aspect from pre-recorded and virtual because you can essentially make it whatever you want.
Yeah,
I had a live performance where I was dancing in a parking lot with a headset, and then I had one that was like "Ready for Love" that we'll see later is
yeah.
was in I have like a little music um, nook that I kind of carved out in my apartment. Like this is my space. Um, that I was like, I'm going to record here because this is my space, and I want like a live performance in my own space and feel have that personal connection. So it's just been really fascinating because it's a different way of thinking about the songs. Like, how am I going to virtually perform it versus a live show or doing a music video? So
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's funny. Like, yeah, I think it's changed my thinking of it as well. And I was like, oh, I have to do it like live, but actually not necessarily. And you can still like create a version of it and do something else live,
yeah,
whether that's dancing or
hmm,
doing whatever you want to do, anything.
yeah,
But yeah, it's kind of like it's like another level of creativity that actually you wouldn't. Um, Although I can't wait to do live gigs in front of an audience again, but actually
yeah,
I guess there's some level of kind of limitation to that in itself. Like it's got to be within a room and the people
yeah,
that are there, the people that see it, and like you can't do
hmm,
too much else craziness with it. But
yeah.
um, unless you had loads of money, but I don't.
Yeah, yeah, no. Very true, but no.
Yeah, we'll keep those dreams for later on.
Yes, back pocket.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all for it. I really want to do some. I feel like if I do live stuff again, I would still like to have the live stream element with it as well, but like just do stuff in cool spaces. That's kind of what I'd love to do. I've not figured out how I'm going to actually do that yet, but yeah,
If you
like
do, let me know.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Well,
Try to figure it out too.
I think I just want to go and like find some churches that would have me because like if I can get somewhere with like really nice acoustic and just
That's
like do
really
some stuff
cool.
there, or like under a bridge, or maybe that's not.
Oh, that'd be really cool
Oh, in
too.
Austin, you should do it under the bridge of all the bats.
Bats, yes. Until the bats come out, and
Yeah, maybe that.
a lot of editing will be involved.
Yeah, maybe that's not the best idea.
Yeah.
There you go. That's my only other anecdote about Austin. That's it.
uh,
Bats
a
and
lot of
bars.
bats. Yes, yes. Pretty much all
So
you need to know.
yeah, that's it. That's all you need to know. So what is next for you on your musical and artistic journey?
Yeah, so Zach Benson just announced today that the charity album, it's the third year, Power to the Queer Kids
Mm,
album, I actually did a cover song that will be on the project. It will be out June 4th.
great.
I'm excited about it. I did a cover of a tattoo song called My Jxckson. Um, 2004, I think that's when that song came out. It was my favorite on that album.
There's that
It was
memory.
pretty, it's that memory, yes. And I did that song because like there wasn't a lot of queer representation in music back in like the early 2000s. Even though a lot of people love the aesthetics of it, but that's another story.
Hmm.
But I remember Tattoo being on the scene. It was just like very controversial, and I love their music. And that song especially, like it was just there for me in my early queer moments of like high school. And I remember that being like the soundtrack, their first album being like my soundtrack my freshman year of high school. So, and
Mm.
that song in particular. So I decided to cover that because it has that kind of special place for me. So that will be out June 4th. And then I do have two other collaborations I worked on that will be out in June as well. So
Ah,
this
amazing.
EP is just the beginning. So a lot more coming out.
Very exciting. Can you tell us more about these collaborations, or is that secret for just now?
They're both secret for right now. I believe we're announcing one of them next week. I
Hmm.
will say the first one is in a collaboration with two other artists. So me and two other artists on it.
Cool.
Um, so yeah, that's all I'll say. I don't want them to be like, oh, you said it too
Ruined it.
early. Ruined it. It's all
You know,
ruined. I'm out.
it's all, you know,
Get
it
it
takes
cut
a
out.
lot. It takes a lot of planning.
It does.
All this
It does.
social media stuff.
I know it does.
But
But
yeah, I mean, it's interesting what you're saying there about finding like queer representation in music, and like, do you
mhm.
feel yeah, how do you feel it is these days? And as part of that, as someone who is an artist and is queer and out there making music, like how does yeah, I don't know, how does that make you feel?
It's really amazing to see the level of representation, not only from our kind of the indie community too, seeing all these other artists like me. That's been exciting. Singing about things that I relate to. It almost makes you realize like I've been left out of the narrative for so long that I normalized it that now when I do see myself represented in the like mainstream, it's insane. I
Yeah,
was like, oh, this is what straight cis people get to feel like
yeah,
every day. I was like, no, we deserve that same feeling. So it's been really amazing. I feel like there's still a lot of work and representation needed in the mainstream, but
yeah.
it's definitely getting there. You're seeing. I love Little Nas X, like in what he's doing and just being unapologetic himself. I just saw his SNL performance,
Yeah,
and
I did the other day as well. Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to do that years ago. I remember when Adam Lambert performed at the Billboard Awards, I think back in like 2008, maybe. There's that memory again.
Yeah, it's in
And it
there.
was like a big controversy
Yeah,
just because he kissed another guy. And it's like, it's not that big of a deal.
yeah.
So it's crazy how far it's come. Definitely, there's more room to grow, but it's a move in the right direction, and it makes me happy to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like saying always always starts in the kind of the grassroots and independent kind of arts and
Hmm.
independent scene as
Rose
well,
from
which I
there.
mean like feels like I thought I'm sure I've probably said this before, but like when I first started like creating a playlist of like queer independent artists, I was like, oh, you know, I'll probably be able to find a few. Like I don't know, like how often I'm going to update it, and then you know, like I here we are a year later, and I'm still every week there's new songs, new people to talk to. Like it's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, there's like hundreds of us. It's
Yeah,
so
so
insane. Like I
many.
just started my own playlist, monthly playlist, and May was my first one. And I call it X Marks the Spot. And it's funny when I created it, and it's just to highlight different songs I'm into. And I wanted like at least 50% of the songs to be other queer independent artists,
Yeah,
because that is majority of what I listen to these days.
yeah.
Because we're killing it this year. Just
Hmm.
saying, some of the best songs. Um, and it's funny because I was like, oh, I'll only do like 10 songs because X is like Roman numeral. It's a play on that. So
Yeah,
10. And I couldn't do it because I was like, well, there's this artist. Oh, this artist just came
yeah.
out with something. And I was like, but I love that song too. Now I just have it like at 15. I was like, there is no set list. I'll just change it each
Just
month
keep on. Yeah, yeah. It's fine.
because it's just so much. It's so
That's
much
good
out
though, isn't it?
there.
It's a good problem to
Yeah,
have.
exactly. I love seeing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Me too. It's really, yeah, really great to see. Well, thank you so much, Jxckson, for coming to
Yeah.
chat to me and for yeah giving us a couple of the tracks to play on the show as well. Very exciting, and yeah, we look forward to hearing the charity single and these collaborations as well. Very
Thank
exciting.
you. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having me. This was really fun catching
Yeah,
up.
yeah, absolutely, my pleasure. And as I say to everybody, I feel like there's going to be some massive queer independent music tour that needs to happen at some point. So, if you
Yes.
want to be the organizer for the Austin leg of that tour, then that'd be great.
Yes. Yes. Sounds good. I'm in.
Yeah,
Yes.
great, cool. We'll sort out the details. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. Please. Please.
All right, Jxckson. Well, thank you so much, and see you on the airwaves
The
of music.
interwebs.
Yeah.
Yes. Sounds great. See you as well. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.